And a good day. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. I am back, and Debbie has been holding down the fort along with the show team, Rich, Jesse, Jeff Burson, and Matt Kubensky. And great to be back with you. We had the, as you know by now, if you've been listening, we had the One Faith experience on Saturday, and I hung around St. Louis a little bit, did some shipping back of product to the speakers and a few other things, and traveled to Fort Wayne, Indiana. I'm at Redeemer Radio right now for Redeemer Radio's Spring Share-a-thon, their 10th anniversary Share-a-thon. And Debbie, as I'm sure you've been letting people know, you are in Buffalo for the Station of the Cross Fund Drive this week.
I am. It's been an exciting week. Lots of pledges coming in, lots of support. What's really great, Jerry, is when the people that call in share their prayer intentions and prayer requests. It really just is so beautiful that the fine folks entrust the prayers to us. And it's great for Catholic radio, local Catholic radio stations. And keep in mind, dear listeners, perfect time to support EWTN. You love the great programming on EWTN. Support EWTN, your local Catholic radio stations. And it's really a beautiful thing, Jerry, when everybody comes together and does their part.
Well, today, your part, dear listeners, as always, is your take. And we have a topic each day that we want you to weigh in on. And as we like to say, Debbie and I can sit here and muse about our topics and pontificate and all kinds of other things. But really, you're the expert on this show. You're the one who is living the topics that we bring up. And we want to share with you and have you share with us and our listeners what your experience is. And so, Debbie, today we want to introduce to our listeners and have them start calling 800-585-9396. We've titled the show today, Are You Feeling the Heat? And that is a reference to the all-out assault on Christianity that's going on in the world today. And we're not talking just about, say, ISIS, which is horrific, of course, but talking about culturally, in the media, in the academic world, in the workplace, in your family, in your neighborhood. Here's the thing, Debbie, that I think I fall victim to, and a lot of our listeners do as well. I think we read about it, we hear about it on the news, read about it in the paper, and we say that's somewhere else and someone else. And the question today is, I really believe, Debbie, if we have a concern for all souls and if we have a love of Jesus and his church, we should be feeling what's going on, no matter, even if it doesn't immediately directly impact us.
Right. Jerry, this is a really deep subject. It really is. Because I was talking about it here at the Station of the Cross right before we went on the air, and they said, well, what's the topic today? And so we were sharing it, and everybody has a different feeling about it, and it really resides very deep inside of them. And so I think that this is going to take some time to kind of peel away the layers, if you will, and try to figure out, what's the best way to converse on this subject and how it does impact us on a daily basis as Christians. But, dear listeners, I know we want to hear from you. You drive the show. So the number to dial is 1-800-585-9396. And, Jerry, I just have to say, it's so good to have you back.
Well, thank you. It is great to be back, and I miss being with you, Debbie, on the air, and with you, our listeners. So my first day back, I want to hear from a lot of you with your take on this topic of the attack on Christianity. It's everywhere we turn. We can't really escape it right now. But again, I want to know, do you really feel it in your spirit, in your soul? Do you hear what's going on, and do you read about what's going on? And does that shake you? Not shake your faith, but does it jar you and get a response in you? Do you really feel the heat of what's going on? 1-800-585-9396. Lines tend to fill up pretty fast, so please don't wait too long. Kind of think about what your take is on this topic, and then get a hold of us at 800-585-9396.
Jerry, I want to ask you this question. Do you feel attacked as a Christian? When we look at this topic, are we relating it just to, when you turn on the news, Jerry, how can you not feel attacked as a Christian? That's kind of an obvious, right? I would think so.
Yes.
But when locally, just in your own communities, your local communities, I wonder if there's sometimes even possibly a false sense of security in that sense in the local communities because it's kind of sheltered. But then when we see what's going on globally, it is overwhelming. And that's where anxieties can set in and some maybe even fears and frustrations. And so it's interesting how this has, again, I go back to many layers this topic does. And look at the phone lines, Jerry. They are filling up. So if you want to share your take on this and shape and mold the conversation, then I would suggest that you call in at 1-800-585-9396.
All right, again today, are you feeling the heat? And as Debbie alluded to, in our neighborhoods, in our families, maybe in your workplace. I don't know, do you have a boss, a coworker who just, or maybe you have a work environment where you cannot talk freely about your faith? Not that you'd want to go around pounding people with the fact that you're a Christian and they should be and all of this stuff, but I just feel like the last legitimate target of prejudice in the world, the only remaining target of prejudice that doesn't get punished, is when people are prejudiced against Christianity and Catholicism in particular. And again, we see it all the time. You've got what's the TV show, the O'Neills, the real O'Neills, or something like that. Debbie,
is that what it's called?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen it. I have heard just things about it that are absolutely despicably anti-Catholic.
Really?
And the world celebrates that. The world celebrates it, and we scream and holler at Catholic League for Religious and Civil Rights, Dr. Bill Donahue, press releases every day, all this stuff, and it does nothing. It gets us nowhere. And so it just seems like we're backed into a corner. Mm-hmm. And of course, we got God on our side. We have Jesus and the truth on our side. We win. Mm-hmm. But there are tough times upon us, and even tougher times coming, I have to believe.
I would agree with you. But I go back to this, Jerry, when you just said about what's happening in your own communities and maybe your workplace or your schools. I think our listeners by now know I live in the Diocese of Phoenix, and we have just an amazing bishop, Bishop Olmsted. And I feel very safe, if you will, from a Catholic Christian standpoint, because I believe, especially in the diocese that I live in, being Catholic is very accepted. It's very appreciated and respected. And I think that that makes me feel comforted when I travel around and then I go back to my diocese and I feel like, wow, I feel safe. But I will tell you, though, sitting in my home, when I do turn on the news and I see what's happening, it is horribly unsettling. And I thank the Knights of Columbus for doing so much good around the world, where they have stepped up and said, enough. We're going to help the Christians that are being persecuted, and we're going to be there. And I'm so pleased when I see commercials of the Knights of Columbus sponsoring different things that are helping the Catholic Christians around the world. But it is unsettling, Jerry. I have to tell you, but it wouldn't make me change. I mean, I would never, ever change my belief. I would never stop speaking about the faith because of that. But internally, it does leave that little bit of uneasy feeling. I guess that would be the best way to describe it. Jerry, look at our phone lines.
Yeah, well, people have obviously some thoughts, some insights, some takes on this. And we do have, it looks like, one line open at 1-800-585-9396. 1-800-585-9396. Great to be back with you, Debbie, and our listeners on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Debbie's in Buffalo hosting a pledge drive for the Station of the Cross, and I'm at Redeemer Radio in Fort Wayne. It's that time of year when your station asks you for some financial help. Please say yes. Please be generous. We're going to come back and take your calls on whether you're feeling the heat of the anti-Christianity that's going on in the world. Stay with us.
At St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York City, Pope Francis said, "We have to ask ourselves, are we even capable of counting our blessings? If we don't take time to count our blessings, we forget that they're there. Sadly, we tend to do this with the greatest blessings in life. Sure, we thank the person behind the counter who just handed us our change, but when's the last time you told someone that you treasure the gift of his friendship? As silly as it sounds, have you thanked your kids for letting you be their dad? Do you thank your spouse for the gift of her life? Married people can often feel lonely because they get so used to each other that they almost forget that they're not alone. Friends, family, a good meal, a pretty sunset. These are the things that make us super lotto winners. Be sure to cash in. Take a few minutes every day to stop, notice your blessings, and thank God for them. That's where gratitude begins, and joy is never far behind. This is Chris Stefanik from RealLifeCatholic.com on EWTN Radio.
Hello, this is Bishop Robert Baker from the Diocese of Birmingham in Alabama.
I'm Peggy Normandin, but you can call me Catholic.
Hello, friends. This is Father Wade Menezes of the Fathers of Mercy. Thanks for listening to the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
All right, we want your takes on this topic, and we're grateful for your listenership and your calls. We are going to start out in Salt Lake City with Ramon, listening to EWTN Radio in the great state of Utah. Ramon, welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi, how are you guys?
Pretty well, Ramon. How you doing?
Hi. Well, I just had a comment. I'm not feeling the heat as much as other Christians around the world, but I was telling you that person that I live in Salt Lake City, Utah. It's a mostly Mormon town, and living in such a Mormon town, as a Catholic, it's kind of difficult sometimes building up friendships and relations, and sometimes you feel excluded. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Ramon, let me share something with you. I worked for many years for Catholic radio in the western section of the United States, and one of my territories was Salt Lake City. So I used to come up to Salt Lake City all the time, and that I heard exactly what you just said probably 100, 150, 200 times, saying, wow, it's really tough to live where you are constantly reminded that you're a minority in the sense of the community. But the good news is, from my experience on Salt Lake City being my territory for many years, you have a very strong connection of Catholics in the parishes there, and that's wonderful. Really great parishes are doing super community work. That is fabulous. You have a local Catholic radio station there with a strong signal. That is wonderful. You have all of that. So I do believe those connections and lifelines are there, and I hope you have tapped into them, because you really do want to support your spiritual life, especially when you're living in a community where there may be, you may feel like you're a minority. Do you do that? Do you tap into your parish resources?
We do. I mean, we're a small community. Salt Lake City. We have 4 or 5 parishes plus our cathedral of the Madeleine.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a close, tight knit community. So, but the sense of heading outside of that community, it kind of you don't feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. Practicing your faith as well, because I mean, there's Mormons who really don't understand Catholicism, and they have all these questions, they have all these doubts. I had a friend of mine that whose son is doing his first communion this coming Sunday, mm-hmm. and she went to a little clothing shop, and it's Mormon-based shop, and they were having all these questions about what is First Communion.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know anything about that. Those questions kind of feel uncomfortable sometimes, because they feel like we're being interrogated.
Right. Well, I would agree with you, Ramon, but again, I want to lean back to the fact that you do have Catholic radio in Salt Lake City, which can catechize everyone, and so you are in a position, Ramon, where all of the Catholic Christians in Salt Lake City area and the surrounding area really do need to be well formed and well informed about things in the Catholic Church, because you are going to get asked questions. And I really do believe in my heart of hearts, for you, Ramon, it may feel like interrogation, but it's really their curiosity, because they really want to know. And I know that because I live in a heavily Mormon populated state as well. I live in Arizona, and they're wonderful about wanting to learn and to know. And so it's in our jobs to really know our faith, but more importantly, Ramon, just to live our faith and be an example, so that it totally just makes them want to more and more get to know us better, because that is the only way we're really going to have that evangelization, should they ever decide to possibly look into coming into the church. So I hope that helps you, Ramon. But just to know, you're not alone. And, God puts us in places where we live, and He does give us the resources around us. He's not going to put us in places that we're not going to thrive. And so you're going to be thriving because you got a lot of prayers around you. You got a lot of good Catholic parishes, Catholic radio. And so you can tap into all those resources. And Ramon, stay strong. And keep checking back with us. Let us know if how things are going as you continue on. And I have to tell you, Salt Lake City is one of the prettiest places to fly into. I love flying into Salt Lake City. So God bless you, Ramon. Have a great day.
Thanks, Ramon, for the call. And a lot of calls we're going to get to. I just want to mention that Marie on our Facebook page, EWTN Catholic Radio, said, yes, Christians do feel the heat turning up if they are catechized in the beliefs of a disciple of Christ. For we as Catholics, the heat is very uncomfortable. However, she says, for Catholics not practicing or not learning, the solution is to swim in the hot water and simply see the heat as a problem with Christ's teaching itself. She says various issues. She mentions gender confusion, marriage redefinition. All of these issues are relative to individual preferences. And she adds, uncatechized Catholic people feel that the heat is simply progress in humanity. However, for a true disciple of Christ, the heat is an allegory of the rising waters during Noah's time. Oh. Catholics need strong teaching, and she says Catholic radio is essential to this witness. Marie, great take on our Facebook page, EWTN Catholic Radio. And Susie also is going to join us next, listening to EWTN Radio on Denver Catholic Radio in Colorado. Hi, Susie. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi. How are you guys doing today?
Pretty well,
Great,
Susie.
How are you?
I'm doing good. Basically, I called in 5 years ago. My husband was killed in Afghanistan, and to tell the children, my daughter was in a Catholic school in Anchorage, Alaska, and they just rallied around us when this happened, and then the kids wanted to move. Her dad was buried at the Air Force Academy. We moved down here to Colorado, and we put her in a public school system, and my son was in preschool, so it really didn't matter as much, but the public school system wouldn't allow her to talk about Daddy and about God. And that is what we've always revolved around. And so for me, the public school system, started crushing my daughter's spirit, because the first thing she said after she got done crying when she heard Dad was killed was, they may have killed my daddy's body, but they didn't take his soul. So she's very spiritual. So I pulled her out, and using the money that I could get, I put her in the Catholic school system, and it's been amazing. They rallied around her and loved her, and to me, it's the public school system isn't allowing the kids to have their faith or to show their faith, and we're just blessed to have the Catholic school system.
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes we forget about the Catholic school system sometimes, because there's a lot of Catholic schools around us, but they do great work, and you are a testament of that with your daughter, and that's huge to hear that they rallied around you and comforted your daughter. I just wanted to say, Susie, and I know I can say this on behalf of Jerry and all of our listeners as well, I'm so sorry that your husband was killed in Afghanistan.
Yes.
Thank you for being a military wife. Thank you for sacrificing your husband so that we can all live in freedom and be protected. And I'm so
sorry
that happened to you and your family. But your daughter is right. They can't touch his soul. And
my son is the same way. Every time we go to church, he cries because he misses Daddy, but he's like, I can feel Daddy here. Every time we go to Mass, and both of them participate. They're either singing in the choir or doing, now both of them doing altar serving. I'm a minister of extraordinary, And I'm also back in school working towards a degree in theology. I feel a calling towards it. So
Wow.
to me, with the persecution going on with, especially with our military, because the gentleman who did kill the 9 that were killed today in the shooting in Kabul, he did state that he hated Christians and wanted to kill Christians.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, for me, for my children to be a part of the Catholic school system, and how much they rally around those kids, even especially today on April 27th, to me, we all need to go back to our faith no matter how much they're going to persecute us, no matter how much they hate us, no matter how much they want us to not reveal our faith and show our faith every day. That's why, to me, the Catholic school system is what is, helping my children and can help any, any Christian school.
Yeah.
That allows you to walk down the hall and proclaim God's name at any point in time.
Even just seeing the crucifix on the walls of the schools, I mean, that's a blessing, an amazing prayer, an amazing blessing, and to have that displayed, I mean, that gives tremendous strength to the children. Susie, just before we let you go real quickly, you're getting your theology degree. Will you, oh, Jerry, you got to say something. You got to say something?
No, go ahead and finish. I was
just
going to add something very, very poignant
profound
to this
in
a minute, but go ahead.
Well, real quick, because I just got my prayer book out. I just want to have Susie's husband's first name. If we can, I want to put him in the prayer book, and then also, Susie, you're getting your theology degree. Will you make sure to check back with us and let us know how that's going? If there's any way we could help, I'd be happy to help in any way. So, because I know that theology degrees are tough. I went through that. So, if you need anything, you can lean on us. Okay, Susie. But what's your husband's first name? I want to put him in the book.
His name is David. David Sr., I should say, because I have David Jr.
Oh,
Beautiful.
Bless your heart. Okay, I'm sorry, Jerry. Go ahead. Tell us what you wanted to share.
Well, I was just going to say, I mentioned before I'm at Redeemer Radio for the Share-a-thon, and they do a model where they bring groups of people in from parishes and schools. And I had one mother with 3 young students come in today, and the youngest, he had to be maybe 7 or 8, and we asked them what they love about going to Catholic school, and he went first, Debbie and Susie, and he said, because we get to talk about Jesus, we get to praise God, we get to go to Mass. And I'm listening to this stuff coming out of the mouths of 7, 8-year-olds and his siblings. They all said the same thing, and I'm going, this is such an amazing gift. And I mentioned at the start of the show, the academic world is one of the areas where we are really, I think, most under attack, certainly at the college and university level. But Susie, your example was right on the money about how even in grade schools and high schools we're seeing this. So we've got to band together and really be strong and support each other. So Susie, thank you so much for your call. We're going to pray for you, certainly for your husband. And would you and your kids keep us and our show in your prayers?
I always do. EWTN is a part of our lives. I got my kids addicted to Mother. So they giggle and laugh with me, and they call her the feisty lady. So they just absolutely loved it. So,
well, Susie, God bless you. You sound like such a strong mom, a strong woman, and that's beautiful. And thank you so very much for sharing what you shared today on Take Two. I know it's touched all of our hearts and souls. Wow, thanks, Susie.
Yeah, what a beautiful call. And by the way, John and Rita and Ron and the others, hang on. We have that one line open there at 1-800-585-9396. We're talking today about the anti-Christian sentiment, movement, philosophy, the assault on Christianity. And we see it in the form of ISIS taking Christian lives. Of course, that's a large-scale example. Susie gave maybe perhaps a different example. What has been your experience? Are you feeling it? I mean, do you read the headlines? Do you watch the news? Does it kind of bounce off? Does it go over your head? Do you say, "Oh, gee, that's too bad," or do you really say, "Wow, this is"? I'm passionate about this. Debbie, we've got to hear from people, and we have to all, I think, be passionate about this.
Absolutely. Well, dear listeners, you hear that music. This is the one break we must take, but when we come back, we're going to continue to talk about what it means to be a Christian in this world, and if we feel that we're under attack. We want to hear from you, though, so we're going to take that break. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Doug Keck, the host of EWTN's Bookmark, and I wanted to tell you about a new book, Praying with Mother Angelica, Meditations on the Rosary, the Way of the Cross, and Other Prayers. It's a wonderful new book available right now. Order it today.
To get your copy of Praying with Mother Angelica, log on to our web store, EWTNRC.com, and type in item 80008, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
I'm Raymond Arroyo with Mother Angelica, A Remarkable Life. In the year 1943, Mother Angelica, then Rita Rizzo, experienced stomach pains and came to this home. It was the home of Rhoda Wise. Now, Ms. Wise was a healer, a mystic who saw visions of Christ and St. Therese of the Child Jesus. A year before she met young Rita, Ms. Wise experienced the stigmata, the wounds of Christ on her head, on her hands, on her feet. On the first Friday of every month, she would bleed and suffer the sufferings of Christ. This left a deep impression on young Rita Rizzo. Forevermore, she would never consider Christ's sufferings a story or some distant reality, but a present reality in the world among us. Stay with EWTN as we celebrate the life and legacy of Mother Angelica.
Something amazing is happening on EWTN. One wildly dynamic speaker and a team of young missionaries are on a cross-country road trip, spreading their message of hope in Christ. Their passion is awakening youth to the power of God's love. It's energetic, honest, affirming, like nothing you've seen on TV before. You're Amazing with Justin Fatica, Thursdays at 10 p.m. Eastern on the Global Catholic Network, EWTN.
We're so glad you joined us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, and Jerry is back. Jerry, I have to tell you, I'm so glad. It is so much fun with talking with our callers and our listeners. I love that. I absolutely love that. But when you're not there, it's like, it's kind of, it would be like sitting in the living room and, your coffee cup is there, or you don't drink coffee, your water cup is there, and there's no Jerry sitting there. I mean, that's kind of,
you're very
missed.
Nice, Deb.
Well, you're
very
missed.
nice. Thank you.
Absolutely. And our callers have said that as well. But today, dear listeners, we're talking about a serious subject about what it means to be Christian in this world and how we can feel at times under attack, or maybe all the time we feel under attack, or maybe we don't feel under attack at all. Maybe we're kind of thinking, no, I have to not think that way. I have to rise above that, or I have to stay in my own bubble. We want to hear from you, though, so let's move right along to John in Laredo, Texas, listening to EWTN Radio on Sirius XM 130. Hi, John. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi, Debbie and Jerry. How you all doing today?
Doing great,
Doing well, John. Better now that you called.
Well, I tell you what, the call from Susie just touched my heart. As a veteran, man, she grabbed me, and I appreciate people like that call in, because we need to love them so dearly. But yes. I'm calling today, and part of what you all have been talking about is that it seems to me, since we've been taking, God out of school, and we've made it politically incorrect to talk about God, ever since that has become something big within our country, everything is falling apart. And we just need to, as you all do all the time, remind everybody that we need to show our faith and that we love each other and that God is number one king in all of our lives. So that's just my comment. We need to put God back in our country again.
Yeah, John.
Thank you, Susie.
Yes, John, thank you, and thanks for your kind words for Susie. I'm sure she's still listening. And I was just thinking about this today, this very thing that you're bringing up, John. God is the creator and Lord of everything, and we, his highest creatures who have intellect and will, we have basically said, God, we'll take it from here. It's not the first time. Our age is not the first time this has happened. But more and more, we have told God, get out. And God is the only means to true fulfillment and happiness. And if we tell God to get out, it is going to breed unhappiness, despondency, discouragement, and despair. Look at the rise in suicides. There's nowhere to go. If you tell God to get lost, there is no other solution. There's nowhere to go, no one to turn to. And so the despair just deepens and darkens, and our world is spiraling downward right now in such a way. The only solution, and Deb, I'll let you jump in here, the only solution is to invite God back in. God will not barge his way back in where he has been excluded and kicked out. He is a gentleman. But we must find a way to turn hearts around and to get people to realize that in God, only in God, as St. Augustine said, is my soul at rest. Debbie?
I was just going to say, John, I agree with you. I want to go back to what you said about Susie. Susie's call, really, I start actually getting very emotional. My heart just breaks for her and the children, but they have such a beautiful spirit. And I think about, and thank you, John, for your military service. I think about her husband, David Sr., and how he gave his life for us, and that's huge. And yet, when you hear Susie and her children talk, it becomes very real because, she's one of us. She's one of the Take Two family, and it really is. It really makes you remember what people do for others, and sometimes we don't even remember it. We don't even maybe sometimes even recall it or appreciate it. But getting back to what Jerry said, which I thought was, and you said, John, was so profound. I'll tell you the thing, Jerry and John, what really gets me, I have to just say it. I'm probably going to be very bold. Here goes my New Jersey in me. As you were saying, Jerry, when we kick God out, when we take God out, I agree. That just is, it's appalling. But you know what makes me so incredibly sick to my stomach is when we have Christian institutions that will actually drape over and cover over a crucifix or cover over a statue in order to be politically correct. That to me, of being ashamed of God, that to me, it sickens me. It absolutely sickens me. I have to say it. And I may get emails. I hope I get all good emails saying I agree with you. But you know what? When you do that, when people say you're ashamed of God, you're going to cover it over. Wow. I can't even imagine how hurt God is when we do stuff like that. So I don't know, John, if you have any other comments, but I'd love to hear what you'd have to say.
Right, Debbie, because it's time for us, especially if we say we're a Catholic and say we're a Christian, it's time for us to stand up and take our world back. We have too long allowed the devil to be, at work. It's up to us now to bring it back. And I just challenge everybody to be an example. Let God work in your life and show everybody that he is love and it's great. Thank you all. Thank you for
Bless
what
you, John.
you all do and for EWTN.
Well, pray for us, John, because we're all on the same plane here. We're all weak and sinful and trying to follow Jesus as best we can and be the examples that we should be. And thanks, John, for the call. And Debbie and I both, I'm sure Debbie would agree, we're not, when we say the things we're saying, these are objective statements. This is not, we're not going to go out and get in people's faces and scold them and say you're going to hell and all this stuff. We have to be gentle and merciful, of course. But objectively speaking, there comes a point where if it doesn't get a rise in you to see what's going on. I remember those bumper stickers, Debbie, said if you're not, what did it say? If you're not outraged, you're not paying attention.
Right, exactly.
And I used to think, well, I wonder what the person who has that on his or her car thinks it means, because for me it means if you're not outraged at the attack on Christianity and what's going on, then you definitely are not paying attention. And I know our listeners are. And we're going to go to the next one. That'll be Rita in Ankeny, Iowa, listening to EWTN Radio on Iowa Catholic Radio. Rita, thanks for your patience. And the others of you, too, thank you for your patience. We'll get to you. But Rita, you're up next on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. How are you? Oh, we lost Rita.
I think we lost. Oh, Rita, call back. Call back, Rita.
All right. Well, we're going to go to Ron in Los Angeles then, listening to EWTN Radio on Sirius XM 130. Hi, Ron.
Hey, Jerry. Hi, Debbie.
Hi, Ron.
Hey, Ron. Sorry I haven't returned your call.
I'm migraine, and the world is upside down.
I know. I owe you a phone call too, Ron. I'm sorry. I think you know what life has been like for me lately, so I'll get back to you soon. Anyway, what's your take on this?
I just wanted to throw in my 2 cents. The big thing I think about is that the world's upside down because we're dealing with an identity crisis, and it comes down to generational child abuse or neglect because the children of this world, as they grew, weren't even given the true knowledge of God, and the ability to accept the truth of who God is and who they are. So in the process of all this, of course, all the wars and everything come about. But I had to think that with all the persecutions, the deaths that have been through just in the last maybe 20 years alone, I had to think of Faustina and the messages and the visitations with Jesus, and how this is a time that the world is being prepared for His mercy. And if we don't accept the mercy, it's then the judgment time. But we have to think in a different direction, too, is that with all these persecutions, all these deaths of the Christians, Catholic or otherwise, is that we have a varied abundance of new brothers and sisters in purgatory and heaven praying for us, and we need to start thinking about them more and pray for their intercessions to help us in those that are still behind and probably in line for the very same issues.
Yeah, and Ron, when you say abuse of children, I presume you mean being denied the truths about God. They're being abused in an intellectual way. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, it's a neglect of being given the truth about God and who they are. And I know a lot of it had to do with the 40s and 50s more recently of this past century. But it comes down to, you look at the family structures and how they are right now, and for those who even claim to have Catholic roots or such, there's a sizable percentage that still just don't even understand who God is and who they are. And if they did, they would nowhere near be the kind of people they are today. They'd be just ready to say, hey, I'm Catholic, I'm a child of God, and this is who I am.
Absolutely. When we talk about abuse of children and even of adults, when we talk about that, so often it has the connotation of physical or sexual abuse or what have you, and those are certainly abominable. But Ron, you're making a good point here that it's a form of abuse. It's a form of violence. It's actually doing violence to the human person, especially the young, impressionable minds of human boys and girls, if they are not told about their Maker, who created them, whom they're supposed to live for, and where they're destined to go for eternity in heaven, and to live for God and to bring others to Him. So I think you make a great point in bringing that up. And Debbie, I don't know if you've got some thoughts to add to that.
Well, I think this topic has really, Ron, thank you for sharing your take on this. But I think this topic is really starting to ignite certain internal feelings in people because, Ron, as you were speaking, Jerry mentioned I'm at the Station of the Cross, and I'm actually being physically handed notes from volunteers that are taking the pledges here at the Station of the Cross, and they're saying, yes, this topic is really impacting me. And one just came in, it says, what aggravates me, this is separate, but they were saying what aggravates me is when we're not called to task by our priests and stuff that are lukewarm to get us to rise to a higher level. And so I'm see what's happening here, Jerry. What's happening here is we all have these internal feelings of different things, and it's really igniting a spark inside of us to say it doesn't feel right. And I just want to go back to this: when something doesn't feel right deep inside to the core of our being, it's probably not right. So we really do have to start expressing it and getting it out there in order to make some change for the good happen. So I'm sorry, Ron, if that was a little bit, I digressed from what you were talking about, but I'm actually getting notes handed to me. So it's very interesting take. Jerry, you go ahead and finish up with Ron.
Well, Ron, I just want to thank you for calling. Thanks for being a devoted listener to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We've got, as you can imagine, a lot of calls to get to, so we will let you go onto your day. Our prayers remain with you, Ron. We know you're going through a lot of stuff yourself, but don't be shy and don't be bashful about offering that up for the sake of those who are shoving God out and turning away from Him. So thanks, Ron, for the call. 800-585-9396. Up next, listening to EWTN Radio on Sirius XM 130, Joe in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Joe, welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. You're on the air next. How are you, Joe?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm here in Colorado Springs. I'm a retired Vietnam veteran, 23 years in the military. I've served in conflict in Vietnam, and Sue's testimony this morning got to me also. Excuse me. But I, for one, am fed up with how the Christians in general and Catholics in particular are persecuted and prosecuted for their faith. I mean, have we become so desensitized that we just sit back and roll with the waves and the punches? There's about three topics that get to my heart and soul and tear me up. Same-sex marriage, same-sex union, it's not marriage. Abortion and the selling of baby parts. And then the schools taking Christ out of the schools, taking God out of our schools. Does that not in some way resonate with the increase in the violence in schools, in the mass shootings and killings in our schools? I think it's time that we stood up like our brother there in Texas says, take back our faith, take back our country. I don't see the politicians that we vote for and put in office doing anything at all to stem this persecution of the faith. I mean, when an honest couple who are striving to make a living in a bakery, because of their faith beliefs, refuse to bake a cake for someone who's entering a homosexual union that the government has now legally called a gay same-sex marriage. They're persecuted by the courts. They lose their business. They pay thousands and thousands of dollars in fines and in lawsuits. It seems to me, and maybe I'm just personally saying this, but it seems to me that Catholics and Christians are being targeted by Satan through these organizations, this gay movement, the same-sex marriage. They're being targeted. I mean, they could go to any other baker, but I think it looks to me like they're just looking for, there's a Christian baker there. Let's go ahead. If he doesn't bake a cake, we'll take him to court. Am I wrong?
Right. No, Joe, your points are very well received. I have to tell you, the thing about it is it actually goes back to the note that I received from this volunteer about being lukewarm. We can pass that on to every situation, people in authority, politicians. This particular lady was saying about priests, that priests need to be stronger and hold us to task and raise that bar. But you're right, Joe. Here's what I believe has happened. We've been beaten down so that we are lukewarm, we are quiet, we sit back and we're passive and we don't stand up because we don't want to. There's a lot of people, like you just said, Joe, people will stand up and then they get just targeted in the media. They get persecuted publicly. I mean, my goodness, it's like, how do you? It's that old saying, you're darned if you do and darned if you don't. What are you supposed to do? And so I think it goes back to what Jerry was saying. We have to invite God back in and then hunker down and grab all our strength through our sacraments and grab all our strength through our prayers and hold on, because this is a really strange worldly ride we're in. Jerry, I don't know if you want to share, but I agree with Joe, with what Joe's saying.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And, I just think that, here, I have this theory. I don't know if it's anywhere close to accurate, or somebody should write a book about this. Maybe somebody has. But when you look at the last 30 or 40 years, there have been a number of things that have happened that have been kind of foisted upon culture and upon peoples. And I'm talking about, first of all, you had the politically correct movement. Remember when everything just all of a sudden, I mean, it had never been really heard of. I didn't hear the words politically correct when I was growing up, but all of a sudden there was this politically correct movement that you couldn't say anything about this or that or so many other things. Okay, so then that beats people down, like you were saying, Debbie, and it kind of gets us back into a corner to where we say, I can't say anything about that. And then And there were many other things, but I'm just gonna point to a couple or three right now. That you had that, so that kind of disarmed a lot of people, and then you had the coverage of the priest sex scandal. Okay, and let's face it, I'm fully admitting one priest who did that is one too many. But I always also say, the people knew that this was going on for decades, and they sat on it. I'm talking about the media. Everybody, the world knew about it. And all of a sudden, so after you had beaten people down with political correctness, then you pounce on the church and you make it look like every priest is a pedophile and the Catholic Church is this mean, nasty, horrible organization. And you basically wipe out the church's moral authority from under her, and then you open the floodgates. You push for the same-sex marriage. You push for abortion. You put, and all of these other things. So I think there's been this systematic undermining of so many people of goodwill and people of faith that we have to regain our backbone, if you will, and stand up and say, here's the truth, and the truth can't change. So anyway, I don't know.
Right.
For whatever that's worth, there you go.
Jerry, I thought that was powerful and well said. Joe, I hope you agree, because I think it was wonderful. What do you think, Joe?
It's about time that we have realized that we're in a war. And if you've never been in a war, you realize that when your enemy gets strong and gets on the aggressive, you have to stand up and fight. And Satan has been very keen, and just like Jerry has pointed out, little by little, he's playing his cards just right. He's influencing and the right people to say the right things to get his agenda passed. And I'm afraid that the majority of us, like you've mentioned, Deb, are beaten down, but we can't be beaten down. We have to. What was our baptism? Our confirmation. We were brought in as warriors for Christ. Is that not what we were supposed to be? Confirmed,
That's right.
And stand up and fight, but we're not. We're beaten down, and we just. Well, if I do stand up. I stand up on Facebook every now and boy, let me tell you, do I get beaten down? But do I keep right on going.
Right. Well, you're strong, Joe, and also thank you for your military service. You're strong, Joe, and that's what we need to do. Me personally, I have to tell you, I think we've got to get back to the basics. We've got to get back to the teachings of our faith. We have to get back to the sacraments. We have to get back to deep prayer. I think we got to get back to the basics first. We've got to arm ourselves with all of the spiritual tools that our Catholic Church has provided for us, and that's what's going to make us strong Christians from the inside out. That's my take on it anyway. That's my takeaway. There you go.
All right,
Thanks,
very
Joe.
good.
God bless you, Joe.
In
Strong man.
different positions. Our vote, speak with our vote. Our vote's got to start meaning something.
Wow.
All right, Joe, thanks for the call. We're going to go to Mary next in Prineville, Oregon. Mary, thank you for listening to EWTN Radio and Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. How are you?
Is it me?
Yes,
it's
you, Mary.
Mary?
Oh, hi. I'm sitting here at a gas station filling up. So, at any rate, thank you. I love the radio station. I have a new car and have just recently put Sirius on it, and I listen to you whenever I'm in the car.
Thank you so much.
So much. But I agree with the last caller and the caller before him. Without saying it all again, we have got to pull your big girl boots up and be a Catholic. Stand up for your faith. Stand up and bring God back in there. And don't be afraid when people try to put you down. Say the rosary. Or don't forget the Blessed Mother. She will intercede always for us to her Son. And yes, it is scary. I have 9 grandchildren. Thank gosh, they're all Catholic and being raised in their faith, but we have so many other little ones that, go to public school that have taken God out of their lives through the school system. And we have politicians, many people don't realize are supposedly Catholic, that are standing up for their faith. And I'm not sure the frustration is there. What do we do besides pray? and not be afraid to speak out. Are you there?
Beautiful. Oh yeah, I'm
Yes.
just taking
Yes.
it all in, Mary. I'm just taking it all in, Mary. Great comments, great comments, and you're right. We have to. I wrote down, Mary, while you were talking. Be not afraid. John Paul II's motto: Be not afraid. We can't be in fear because we know fear is not of God. And if it's not of God, then who is it of? It's of the dark one. And so we've got to really stand in truth, and we've got to purge through any feelings of fear. And we know that God's got our back, because if we're doing the right thing, trying to live the right life, faithful to the church, that's what we know. We know that is true. So, Jerry, I didn't know if you wanted to add something. I just wanted to quickly say all the other calls that we've got that we don't get to today, please, if you have a comment, you can leave it with our show screener, Matt Gabinski, or you can email us. Matt, if you could give the other calls our email, that would be great. I would appreciate that. So it's amazing. This is absolutely amazing. Now, am I sure that Jerry, are you with us?
I'm here. Yeah,
Jerry, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. What happened?
No, my connection to our communication chat is down, but I think Mary brought up a fantastic point. And there's so much we could say. We need to stay close to God. We need the church, the sacraments, the magisterium, Jesus. We need to have a prayer life. And Mary's heart, the triumph of Mary's Immaculate Heart is going to come about. And we should not God wills that all men be saved and come to the knowledge of the truth. And that should be our heart's desire as well. So in mercy and in charity, but always in truth, we need to be trying to draw people to God or back to God, and that's my takeaway.
Beautiful, beautiful. Amen to that. Mr. Frost and Barbara, please email us. Matt, if you could give them our email. I think it's take2@EWTN.com. Barbara, please email us. I know Jerry wants to get your email. And wow, this is exciting, dear listeners. And please pray for all the local Catholic radio stations that are doing their pledge drives right now. And don't forget EWTN. And we just love you guys. You guys are awesome. Tomorrow, Jerry?
Yeah, well, tomorrow we are back again with another program, and that is street corner beggars. You see them on freeway off-ramps and intersections, and how are we supposed to respond? How can we help them? Should we be giving them money? Things like that. Don't forget, too, the One Faith Experience DVD set is on sale at a special price, 30% off, onefaithexperience.com. Hope you get a copy of it. God bless.